Welcome everyone to the Kraken's Cave. We're going to be taking a look at another game where we're unleashing the Kraken. E4 D6. This game was played against a player who's quite strong, I think. His rating is only around 2,000, but he's capable of playing above master strength and very strong in opening preparation. So the Kraken is really the perfect thing to play against this opponent. We're facing E4, D6, D4, Knight F6, and they think the Pirц is coming. As I said, the Kraken is deceptive. You're expecting check defense or Pirc. Of course, G6 is the most common move here. But the Kraken rises from the deep with A6, and this Tentacle over here can grab you at any moment with B5. And there are many possibilities of the Kraken. You'll see in this game the Kraken has multiple tentacles. So we've got A6, and then the classical Kraken, if you will, with Knight F3, and then B5. This is the most aggressive move played previously by Serbian Grandmaster Drazic in one game. B5, Drazic, by the way, I think very creative player who does a lot of unusual stuff in the openings, inspiring. And now we've got Bishop D3 again. This is what we saw in our first Kraken video, in part 1, the Kraken Awakens. Bishop D3 again. Players facing the Kraken, they don't seem to know what to do, so they go with the Bishop D3, reinforcing the E4 pawn. But this Kraken, anti-Kraken bishop, let's call it, is actually an amputated octopus. It's blocked in two directions by those pawns, so we're always happy to see Bishop D3. Now I got too ambitious with my Kraken. We have to watch this shove with E5. The point really is here, if white plays E5, you can't retreat your knight from F6. You have to take, and then any endgame where pawn takes queen is going to cost white some time. So we really don't have problems there. The only issue would be knight takes. And against this, what I think we end up getting is essentially like an improved queen to d8 Scandinavian. A lot of times in the Scandinavian, if you go back to move 1 and you think about e4, d5, and you see a lot of people who play this, queen takes d5, knight c3, queen d8. One of the ideas of, or the inspiration behind my Kraken is that we can play what is essentially like an improved Scandinavian, where we never wasted time bringing our queen out to d5 and coming back. What we'll get is knight f3, b5. If e5, we take, knight takes, and then bishop b7. And this actually arises a lot in those Scandinavians with queen takes d5, queen d8. So it's like an improved queen d8 Scandinavian, basically, getting the bishop on the long diagonal. That also happens in the queen d6 Scandinavians, but the queen is much safer here. In queen d6 Scandinavians, the queen's safety is really an issue, in my experience. So this e5 is not dangerous. Okay, we've got bishop d3. Now after bishop b7, unfortunately, this is a very strong move. I underestimated it. And after pawn takes pawn, he could take with the pawn, and no longer it's possible to exchange queens here. So I would have been in a very dangerous situation after knight d5, e6. The Kraken is in trouble. And white misses his opportunity to play this. So the lesson learned from this is that we have to play e6 first. e5 is too experimental. That would sacrifice a pawn. We have to play e6 first to ensure not e5 is dangerous, e6 is dangerous. Then we continue with normal development. Bishop b7, knight bd7, c5, etc. Okay, but we got lucky here. He didn't play e5 after bishop b7. White played a very adventurous move, bishop g5. And this, it simply doesn't do anything. Ironically, the best move now for black would have probably been c5. It's a very dynamic move. I decided to play knight on bd7, reinforce my knight, and now queen e2. At this point, again, c5 is probably my best move. In fact, here for sure, c5, if dc5, knight c5. You see, there's actually a connection between the Kraken and the modern defense. A lot of lines in the modern defense, we're playing this type of structure, a6, b5, d6. We just haven't played g6 yet. Another of the Kraken's tentacles arises on the other side here. So you see, basically a modern hybrid. We're playing h6 at this point, and this is lucky because he should have taken on f6. I wasn't sure how to judge this. I was seriously considering taking with the g pawn to keep e5 held up. But if I take with the knight again, e5 is really dangerous. This unleashing e5, e6, and coming in here could be problematic for our Kraken. So don't let e5, e6 happen. We were a little inaccurate with h6, but we got away with it. He played bishop h4, and now the next tentacle reaches out and grabs at the opponent with g5, bishop g3, and now we have what is essentially a double fianchetto, double extended fianchetto on both sides with both Kraken tentacles. So this is a strong line. Now knight h5, I wasn't sure. We also have e6. I want to make sure e5, e6. I can't emphasize this enough. We've got to make sure e5, e6 doesn't happen. Keep in mind, this is just a 7+5 game played casually. It's not enough time to play the best possible moves. It's basically an enhanced blitz game. So I tried knight h5. We're going out, getting that dark square bishop. Castle's queenside. I knew when he played queen e2 this was going to be a possibility. That was his idea. Now e6. And what it is basically it's a hippopotamus now. And we're talking a lot of animals here. It's a Kraken hippopotamus with extended tentacles, b5 and g5. And we're having fun, right? e5, and now it's possible to just keep the tension, but I decided to grab this dark square bishop and then close it up with e5. And that's normally the policy in the hippo. If white tries to break it open while your king is still in the center, you want to keep the center closed so he can't attack you. And now he tries to attack me on the king side, giving this knight a square. The plan is like g4, knight g3, but it's too slow. He's also attacking g5, threatening knight takes g5. So I defend my rook with bishop g7, putting pressure on the center here. These bishops are shut down for now, but they can open up. All it takes is c5 and f6 at some point. In fact, I did miss f6 later. Knight e2, queen e7, preparing to castle queenside if necessary. The Kraken is resourceful. We're playing queen e7 and then g4 as anticipated. He obviously is coming here with the knight, but it's too slow. Now c5, we strike on the queen side, a very good French type of structure. He tries to maintain his center, and wham, the polyp-like tentacles of the Kraken breaking through on the queen side. Now white blundered, but in the fast time control, we're both low on time. I failed to exploit it. So he plays c4, and this is just too dangerous. c4 was a near fatal mistake. Luckily for white, I panicked here. I didn't think I had a winning position, but the c-file is too dangerous. After dc, bishop takes, or possibly just rook c8 immediately. White has very powerful threats, but not enough. Not enough. Black is too strong here. We're going to actually overwhelm white before he has a chance to get his king to safety. So we've got it. c4 double question mark, but castle's queenside, I let him back in the game. Now I was thinking, I'm safe, you're safe, but white is okay now. He plays king b1, getting to a safe place. The endgame is relatively equal, but watch the potential of the bishops. Keep in mind that these two bishops can be strong. King b8, safe king. C takes d5, bishop takes d5, and then bishop e4. Knight b6, holding up d5 while sacrificing the c pawn. My idea was takes, knight c4. This is a very interesting variation. Check this out. If he had played this, he has now queen d4, and then the key move for black to gain a very tiny edge, I would say, is f6, breaking open the bishop on the other diagonal. And ultimately, incredibly complicated play, but black is better. I believe that black is better here. But this didn't happen. He didn't play pawn takes c5, the move I was afraid of. After knight b6, white plays bishop takes d5, and then rook takes d5, guarding this. Because I didn't really like bishop takes d5, knight d5, queen b3. He just slides over there. I can't push c4. My king side, or queen side if you like, is a little bit weakened. So we got rook takes, and then pawn takes, and we go into the endgame with a bishop versus a knight. Rook takes d5, queen e3, and his pawn structure, this is actually a very bad mistake. His pawn structure is broken. So now black is better. Takes, and then difficult position to hold for white here. After this move, it's too much. e4, knight e3, and now the Kraken comes in. and just works its way in the endgame magic here. Knight g3, knight takes e5. This is gone. And now 2 pawns gone. The Kraken tentacles remain intact on b4 and g5. It's an easy endgame. Easy endgame for black. Notice how powerful this knight is on e5. I just want to illustrate one piece. It's untouchable, the knight on e5. So here I played rook c8. I realized after the game, or in the mid-game, that this was actually stronger to play rook d8. So I had missed that he had something here after rook c8, knight f6. Now I corrected myself. I couldn't penetrate. From d8 I can penetrate down into the white position. And now black's winning easy. a3. We lost the tentacle, but we gained a friend. We've got rook d3 coming down here. And the second tentacle is decisive. Rook takes a3. Rook takes h6, and then rook g3. And the g tentacle is going to go down and end the game effectively. So we got king b7, and then watch this. King e8, rook takes g2, check, king up. King, important to have it active in the endgame. Notice that he's cut off on the 8th rank. We've got knight h7, g4, and there goes tentacle number 2. g4, knight g5, g3, knight takes e6, and this is a funny move. It's a nice move. If he plays pawn takes, rook takes, and then takes my knight, maybe he has a chance to save the game. But this is even better. So I've got this little trick at the end. King c6, and then knight g5 here, knight takes, king d6, double attacking the 2 pieces. And his last gasp, knight f4 attacking my rook. It doesn't matter. We've got rook g1, check, and then take his rook. White resigns. Another victory for the Kraken. Thanks everyone for joining us here. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.